breakaway Saudi-backed rebel golf league, LIV Golf, has kicked up quite a stink since inception earlier this year. Frankly, down to the insane sums of money floating around, as well as their more relaxed rules on some issues. But what do we actually know about the ins and outs of things like contracts and other important aspects? Today, we're talking about what's really inside the LIV Golf rules, regulations, and player contracts. Let's jump straight in then and look at contract extensions. The long and short of it is, the better you play, the more likely you are to have your contract extended. Makes sense, right? As Taylor Gooch's contract was put on display recently after being submitted to a court in order to obtain a temporary restraining order, allowing him to play in the PGA Tour's FedEx Cup playoffs, a lot of it was blacked out. However, it did stipulate that Gooch would not be subject to relegation until after 2025, if in fact he's around that long, as he's only initially signed a 2-year deal. Should Gooch finish in a certain place in the league, he'll instantly activate a renewal clause, meaning he'll be eligible for a new contract. It's so far unknown where he has to finish, but this all seems pretty standard, right? What have you guys made of the money surrounding LIV Golf so far? Violations are the order of the day next. Stay tuned. Like many world-renowned professional leagues these days, LIV Golf has a strict disciplinary plan in place, which some might say is ironic, considering how the Saudi government, who finances the league, behave. Am I right? If a player is accused of any wrongdoing, he'll first be issued an interim written notice. Behaviors including drug use, gambling, and other things along the same lines can all be classed as wrongdoing. The notice will include details of the accusation, any evidence the complainant has gathered, and any potential punishments the golfer can expect to receive if found guilty. Once the letter has been issued, the player then has 10 days to respond. Following this, LIV Golf will issue a final notice, and depending on whether or not the accusations are strong enough, the league reserves the right to suspend the player if he chooses to appeal. If found guilty, LIV Golf can hand down sanctions, which include reprimands for lesser violations, or fines of up to $50,000 for the more serious ones. I mean, they can afford it, right? Should a golfer bring the game into disrepute in a more serious way, the league can suspend them for up to 2 years or even ban them for life. With the amount of money being thrown around, nobody wants that last option, right? What do you guys make of these punishments? We're discussing a possible anti-doping policy next. This one seems pretty standard too. Of course, the league doesn't want to be associated with players who knowingly take drugs, either recreationally or to enhance their careers, nor who have dealings with persons whose activities have involved trafficking or administration of substances or methods prohibited by the World Anti-Doping Agency or other forms of doping. Should an incident occur where a player is thought to have broken the rules, LIV Golf have dispute resolutions in place. Players cannot consume alcohol or banned substances while competing, but are allowed a moderate and responsible consumption of alcohol after competition should they see fit. As of yet, there's no official drug policy in place, nor are the league actively testing players right now. It's thought that they want to implement their own testing policy next season. What do you guys make of this one? On-course media rights is up next. Stay tuned. Of course, LIV Golf have covered their bases very carefully when it comes to players and their on-course media rights, and the official rule states television, radio, film, internet, statistical data and information, and other associated rights, as well as all other media rights of all players participating in events forming part of the series or any other golf event run in conjunction with or under the auspices of LIV Golf, in connection with all content that is created, captured, recorded, or otherwise generated during or in conjunction with any such events, hereby granted assigned to LIV Golf. I mean, we highly doubt the players are going to be particularly worried about their media rights with the amount of money LIV Golf are throwing at them. And while each player's rights are the property of LIV Golf while competing at their tournaments, the rule does not extend any further than that, and those who have signed up to the league are still able to cash in on their name, image, and likeness. It's also thought that the rule extends in perpetuity for the length of the player's contract. However, when not taking part in LIV Golf events, players are free to control their own media rights, which is one of the big reasons why Phil Mickelson said he defected in the first place. He referenced the PGA's obnoxious greed as to why he wanted to move on, but it's hard to listen to that without a hint of irony. What do you guys think? Next up, we're talking gambling. LIV Golf have enforced a strict no gambling policy within their field of competition, and the rules state that each player agrees to not gamble, whether directly or indirectly, in connection with any tournament, event, or any other golf match or competition, and shall not manipulate or unlawfully influence any results or statistics. As we know, Saudi Arabia is a strict Muslim country, and as such, gambling is illegal there. So, perhaps given the money the Saudis are known to be putting behind the LIV Golf venture, this rule has come from above. Players caught taking part in a friendly bet will face strict disciplinary measures and could even face permanent expulsion. The rules explicitly state that no player will engage of taking winnings off another player. The rules also mention that, quite obviously, players are required required to give his or her best efforts in competition, and must not bribe, gift, pay, reward, or otherwise give anything of value to any player with the intention of influencing his or her efforts in a golf tournament or similar event. I mean, if you have to have an explicit rule. Injury pay is up next. Stay with us. This one will please players to no end. If a competitor withdraws through injury and has played at least one shot at any given event, he will still receive half the prize money allotted to the last place, which should work out to around $30,000, which is better than most people's sick pay were willing to bet. If the player pulls out after completing the first round, he'll receive the maximum awarded to last place, $60,000, which is a nice little touch. However, if a player pulls out of a tournament due to injury, they'll not receive any individual points, which is probably fair enough. We're talking rules around disqualification next. Stick around. If a player is disqualified from an individual tournament for a misdemeanor, such as having too many clubs in the bag or signing the wrong scorecard, for example, he'll still be allowed to take part in the team events after the round in which he was disqualified. Of course, the round in which the error was made will not be added to the team score, which again is probably fair enough. What do you guys make of this one? Next up, we have a retirement rule. Should a LIV Golf player decide to retire during his contract with the league, they'll still be expected to complete any reasonable non-playing request from the league operator or team operator relating to the league or team. This might mean tasks relating to team captaincy or, more likely, promotional requirements for the league, as well as media obligations. I mean, given the contracts these guys are on, we're not sure we're going to see too many retirements. Am I right? And finally, rules surrounding taking part in other events. Stick around. As we all know, the PGA Tour has made a big deal of their players not being allowed to take part in other tours, but not LIV Golf. They're suggesting that in the best interest of the game, they'll allow all players to participate on as a broad and diverse a cross-section of global golf events as possible, so long as such participation does not interfere with the player's obligations to LIV Golf. This will only be an issue if another tournament clashes with LIV Golf events, but if they want to take part in a tournament when there's nothing scheduled in the LIV Golf calendar, there's absolutely no problem, and they don't even need permission from Greg Norman or anybody else. The rule explicitly states, the league views participation of the players in other events as a major benefit to the promotion of the game of golf worldwide. Excellent news. As always, thanks for dropping in on us today, and remember to tune in again next time when we'll be discussing all sorts of other cool bits and pieces. And why not do us a solid by liking and sharing today's video, as well as sharing it with any golf heads you might know of. Bye guys!